Hey everyone, ready to dive into the world of honeybees with us.
Always fascinating, those little guys.
So we found this podcast where this guy, we'll call him Cowboy Jack, goes to this honeybee farm in Texas, Bee Weaver Honey Farm.
Sounds like a fun trip.
Oh yeah, and get this, by the time we're done here, you'll not only want to go grab some honey, but also really get why bees are so important.
You know, it's amazing they found edible honey in, like, ancient Egyptian tombs.
Really? That's crazy. Edible after all this time.
It's true.
Huh. So what, the Egyptians had like a special connection with bees or something?
I mean, it makes you think, right? It couldn't have been just food, maybe
Mhm.
like a cultural thing or even spiritual.
Wow. A taste of ancient Egypt.
Honey is pretty unique chemically.
Mm.
It's naturally acidic
Yeah.
and low moisture content. So it basically preserves itself.
Like a time capsule.
Yeah. And speaking of time travel, let's jump to Bee Weaver Honey Farm today. It sounds like a completely different experience from your average honey farm.
It does. So Cowboy Jack got to see everything up close and personal. Like, did he actually go inside a beehive?
He did. Got to see it all firsthand.
Man, thousands of bees all working together. It must be like like a miniature city or something.
It is. And just like a city, there's a whole social structure. You've got the worker bees. They're the ones doing all the heavy lifting, gathering nectar, pollen, building the hive, you name it.
Talk about multitasking.
Right.
How long do those worker bees even live for?
Not long at all, actually. Just a few weeks.
Wow. That puts our busy schedules in perspective.
I know, right?
So we got the workers. What about the drones? Those are the males, right?
Yep. Their main job's mating with the queens from other hives.
So it's like a really important but short-lived job.
Yeah. Got to keep that gene pool diverse.
Okay, workers, drones. What about the queen bee? Does she actually have a tiny little crown?
Maybe not a crown, but she's definitely royalty. Her job is laying eggs and making sure the colony keeps going.
So she's essential, like the heart of the whole operation.
If something happens to her, the whole hive's in trouble. No kidding.
It's amazing how each bee has its role, and they work together so well.
Perfectly choreographed. It's incredible. And it doesn't stop at the hive.
Right. We got to talk about pollination. Bee Weaver Honey Farm really emphasizes how important bees are for the environment, not just for making honey.
Absolutely. It's crucial, probably even more so than the honey.
So just how important are we talking here?
About 1/3 of the food we eat depends on pollination by bees.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah, think about that for a second. Our grocery stores would be a lot emptier without bees.
I never really made that connection before.
It's not even just the food we eat directly. Pollination helps all kinds of plants, which keeps the whole ecosystem healthy and diverse.
Wow. Bees are basically keeping things alive.
Pretty much.
So is that what Cowboy Jack did? Did he become a beekeeper to help out?
Well, beekeeping's a great way to get involved, but it's not just about, putting on a suit and hoping for the best. You got to know what you're doing.
Yeah, safety first, right? Did he talk about the tools they use?
He did. He learned about the bee smoker, which calms the bees down before you go near the hive.
How does that work?
So the smoker mimics a fire, and that triggers the bees' instincts to basically prepare to leave the hive, in case of danger.
That's so clever. So you're kind of tricking them.
In a way, yeah. Makes them less aggressive, easier to work with.
So there's a lot more to beekeeping than meets the eye. It's about understanding bees.
You got it. It's about respecting their space and making sure they're healthy.
Okay, so after all the hard work, there's got to be some reward. What was that honey tasting like?
He got to try all kinds of honey, and each one tasted different depending on the flowers the bees visited, like a taste of the local landscape.
Wait, you're telling me you can actually tell the difference?
Oh, absolutely. It's like wine. Each honey has its own unique flavor.
This is making me crave some local honey.
Me too.
Cowboy Jack's story really shows how important it is to support local resources.
Totally agree. Places like Bee Weaver Honey Farm and local beekeeping clubs are amazing. They can teach you so much if you're interested in bees.
So you don't have to go all in and become a full-time beekeeper to make a difference.
Nope. Even small things help, like planting flowers that attract bees in your garden.
I love that idea, making a little bee haven in your backyard.
Exactly. It's all about creating a community, a shared responsibility for these amazing creatures.
I love that. Building a community around bees. This has been amazing so far.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
But there's so much more to uncover, right?
Oh yeah, we've only scratched the surface.
We'll be right back with more fascinating bee facts after a quick break. Welcome back, everyone. We're buzzing along in our deep dive about honeybees.
We've seen how amazing their lives are, but let's be real for a minute.
What do you mean?
Bees are facing some really serious problems these days.
Yeah. It's not all sunshine and honey, unfortunately.
Exactly. What do you think is the biggest threat to bees right now?
Hmm. That's a tough one. There's so much going on. But I'd have to say habitat loss.
That's a big one for sure.
Like we keep building more and more stuff, taking away all their natural homes.
It's like we're bulldozing their homes to put up parking lots.
Yeah, exactly. And if they don't have access to those diverse flowers and plants, they can't get what they need to survive.
Right. It's a recipe for disaster. And then there's the whole issue of pesticides.
Oh, yeah. Cowboy Jack talked about that when he was at Bee Weaver Honey Farm.
Pesticides are designed to kill pests, but they end up hurting all kinds of insects, even the good ones like bees.
I've heard that term colony collapse disorder before.
Oh, yeah, that's a scary one.
What even is that? Is it caused by pesticides?
It's complicated. A bunch of things can contribute to it, but pesticides definitely play a role.
So what happens? Do the bees just, like, die?
It's weirder than that. Basically, all the worker bees just disappear from the hive. They just vanish.
Wait, seriously, like the whole workforce just walks off the job.
Pretty much. They leave the queen and the baby bees behind to fend for themselves.
That's terrifying. And pesticides are making it worse.
Yep. Some pesticides, like neonicotinoids, they really mess with the bees' ability to navigate and find food.
So it's not even killing them directly, it's like messing with their brains.
Exactly. It weakens the whole colony.
So we've got habitat loss, pesticides. Is there anything else we should be worried about?
Oh, yeah. There are also diseases and parasites that can wreak havoc on bee colonies.
Like what?
The varroa mite is a big one.
Varroa mite. What's that?
It's this tiny little parasite that latches onto bees and sucks their blood, basically.
Oh, that's awful.
It weakens them and makes them more likely to get sick.
Man, it sounds like bees are getting hit from all sides.
It's true, but it's not hopeless.
Really?
People are starting to pay attention. They're finally realizing how important bees are.
That's what I loved about Cowboy Jack's story. He went to Bee Weaver Honey Farm just to learn about honey and ended up getting a crash course in bee conservation.
I love that. Education is key. Once people understand how connected we are to bees and nature, they're more likely to want to protect them.
So what can we do? What are some practical steps people can take to help out?
Well, planting bee-friendly flowers is a great place to start.
Yeah, that's a good one. Like making your backyard a little bee sanctuary.
Exactly. Plant lots of different kinds of native flowers so the bees have food all season long.
Got it. Bee-friendly flowers. What else?
Ditch the pesticides in your garden. There are natural ways to control pests that won't harm bees.
I'm all for that. And what about supporting local beekeepers?
That's a big one. Buying local honey helps support sustainable beekeeping practices.
So it's like voting with your dollars.
Oh, you got it. Every purchase we make sends a message to businesses about what we value.
You know, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all these big problems, but it sounds like even small actions can make a difference.
I really believe that. We can do this.
This conversation's been a real eye-opener.
I'm happy to hear that.
Now, you mentioned something about bees having a language.
Oh, yeah, that's coming up next.
I can't wait to hear about that. We'll be back after a quick break to explore some of the more unusual and surprising things about bees. Stick around. Welcome back, everyone. I'm ready for more amazing bee facts.
Well, get ready. We're about to decode the language of bees.
Whoa, hold on. You're telling me bees have a language?
They do. Think about it. A worker bee finds a field full of delicious flowers. She needs to tell her friends, right?
Yeah, but how? Do they draw little bee maps?
Not quite. They do this special dance. It's called the waggle dance.
A dance? Seriously?
Yep. She comes back to the hive and does this waggle dance on the honeycomb. The way she waggles and how long she does it tells the other bees exactly where to find those flowers.
It's like bee GPS. That's incredible.
It really is. And it's super accurate.
Mind blown. And you mentioned pheromones earlier. Do those play a role in communication too?
Oh, definitely. Pheromones are like chemical signals. They trigger certain behaviors.
So it's not just about the dance, it's a whole sensory experience.
Exactly. It's like a whole other level of communication we can't even perceive.
So, for example, the queen bee uses pheromones to keep order in the hive.
Right. Her pheromones tell everyone what to do. They even prevent the worker bees from developing ovaries.
Wow. It's like a hive-wide messaging system.
Super efficient. Speaking of the queen bee, she's not just sitting around looking pretty, you know.
Yeah, she's clearly in charge.
She's the boss. Her presence, her pheromones, the eggs she lays, everything depends on her.
Makes you wonder how important bees have been throughout history, right?
Oh, yeah. Bees have been crucial to humans for a long time. Honey as food and medicine, beeswax for all sorts of stuff.
I remember Cowboy Jack saying that Bee Weaver Honey Farm had this whole exhibit about the history of beekeeping.
Beekeeping's been around for ages. Ancient Egyptians did it, other civilizations too.
So cool that something so old is still going strong today.
Totally. And bees show up in our stories and myths all over the place. In some cultures, they symbolize things like hard work and community.
It makes sense. They're such amazing team players. So have they always been here in North America?
Actually, no. European colonists brought them over in the 1600s.
Whoa, really? So they're not even native.
Nope. But they've adapted and become essential to our ecosystem.
That shows how connected everything is, huh? We make one change, and it can have a huge impact, even with something small like bees.
It really does. It's a reminder that we need to be careful.
This whole deep dive's been incredible. From ancient honey to bee dances, it's just mind-blowing.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Cowboy Jack's experience is a great example of how curiosity can lead to a deeper understanding of the world around us.
It really is. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on bees now.
And hopefully a renewed sense of responsibility for their well-being.
Absolutely. Next time I see a bee, I'll definitely take a moment to appreciate it.
That's the spirit. Remember, even the smallest actions can make a difference.
It's all about coming together and taking care of these amazing creatures.
Let's do everything we can to make sure bees are around for generations to come.
Well said. And on that note, it's time for us to say goodbye. Thanks for joining us on this amazing journey into the world of honeybees. Until next time, stay curious.